Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Tales of Herding Gods based on novel. So let's start. The huge bamboo city moved forward while Qin Mu and he stood side by side on its tower. Even though he had seen the strange sight of the city moving by itself, Qin Mu still found it inconceivable. Even though the divine arts of West Earth had not improved in 10,000 years, the ideology of all things having spirit and all things having soul was still extraordinary. When he looked back and saw people walking to and fro through the city, he couldn't help clicking his tongue in wonder. After Formation Master he admitted defeat, she summoned the people of Bamboo City and about 100,000 people returned. The sight of a city bringing so many people across the mountains was unimaginable, yet it was right in front of his eyes. Trying to overthrow Palace Master Yu of True Heaven Palace isn't going to be easy, he said. Besides my He family, we also need the support of other influential families. In West Earth, Xiong and Yu families were the two most influential families, and their abilities were also the strongest. But Xiong family has already fallen and their position of True Heaven Palace Master was snatched by Yu family. However, there's still Poison Master Mu Ingshue's Mu family, Sword Master Luo Inu's Luo family, Fang family, Liu family, Gong family, Shi family, Fu family, a total of 10 influential families. Other than that, there's also influential families like those who belong to Jiiku, Maokai, Ka Xiong Ka whose abilities aren't weak as well. Qin Mu pondered over it before asking, why did Xiong family inherit the position of True Heaven Palace Master? Do other influential families also have this right? Xiong family could inherit the position of True Heaven Palace Master because the first generation True Heaven Palace Master's surname was Xian, he said. The successive Palace Masters because of that were usually Xiong. Even though there were situations where other surnames had become Palace Masters, Xiong family would still return back to the position of the Palace Master not long after. It is said that the girl looked at Xiong Chia who was beside Qin Mu. It is said that the ancestor of Xiong family had the support of a god so they could always remain on the seat of the Palace Master. However, this time it's different. It is said that the god was unsatisfied with Naikue, so Yu family was contacted, and that is why it was so easy for them to uproot Xiong family. God? Could it be the owner of that wooden god statue I met in the flaming desert? Qin Mu was still somewhat puzzled, so he asked, since this god always supported Xiong family, why did he suddenly change to Yu family? That will be because of Biego, he answered. Biego's origin is not ordinary, and rumors say that he is a strong practitioner who came down from the upper bound. It is believed that he brought Yu family in contact with that god. Biego? Qin Mu blinked. Biego was a term of respect like Naikue. The latter was the mother of the princess while Biego was the father of the princess. However, according to his understanding, even though the princess of True Heaven Palace was Xiong Chia, her father had died in battle, so the Biego he mentioned could only be the husband of Yu family's True Heaven Palace Master. However, True Heaven Palace Master had not given birth to a daughter, so it shouldn't be proper to address him as Biego. This Biego needed an extraordinary position to be able to contact that god, he said. He's extremely mysterious and rumors say that he came from the upper bound and is the guest of high heavens. He had already been with True Heaven Palace Master and it is said that she's already pregnant with a child. Biego let it spread that the child within her is definitely a girl who is the princess of True Heaven Palace. Giving birth to a girl would secure one the position of True Heaven Palace Master, which was a rule Qin Mu had never heard about before. However, West Earth honored women and their social customs were quite different from those of eternal peace. Besides, as long as one cultivated divine eyes, it wasn't troublesome to see if the unborn child was male or female. Since Biego had confirmed that the child in True Heaven Palace Master's womb was a girl, he would not be wrong. True Heaven Palace Master would definitely give birth to a little princess and sit firmly on her seat. What's the surname of this Biego? Yu? Qin Mu was stunned. Is also Yu? What's his relationship with Yu family? He smiled, but it was an expression lacking warmth. All of us would also like to know what's Biego's relationship with Yu family. There are many rumors in West Earth. Some say Bago is the ancestor of Yu family, others that he is the son of High Heaven's Jade Sovereign and that Yu family originate from there as well. There are many rumors, but the truth is elusive. Qin Mu looked at her with a weird expression. Some say that it was because Xiongxiyu's talent was lacking and she wasn't a strong enough benevolent ruler that her position as palace master was snatched by Yu family. Yet in my eyes, even though Palace Master Xiong really lacked talent, the true mastermind behind this is still this Bago. Qin Mu nodded. Xiongxia was right beside him, but he had no choice but to admit that what he said was right. No matter if it was ability or scheming, the girl's mother wasn't like what a master of a sacred ground should be. She hadn't experienced a lot of scheming and bloody battles before ascending to the position of the palace master at a young age, so it was natural that she couldn't fight against Yu family and Bago. Even though Qin Mu had also ascended to the position of heavenly devil cult master at a young age, the people who had taught him were the 9 elders of disabled elderly village. Ever since he was young, he had been taught all kinds of crafty plots and machinations, making him sinister and cunning. However, the 9 elders still found him too honest. Because of all that teaching, Qin Mu was able to sit firmly in the position of cult master, with everyone in the village accepting him wholeheartedly. Bamboo City sprinted among the mountains and wilderness, heading toward the west. It didn't head straight for True Heaven Palace, though. They were going to the ancestor ground of He family, Sword River Valley, where their headquarters were located. As an influential family, He family had their own power. Even though it was inferior to that of Yu or Xiong families, it was still a strength that was not to be underestimated. After Bamboo City had sprinted for half a day, they finally came to Sword River Valley when the sun was about to set. Qin Mu looked into the distance and saw a huge river stretching straight ahead like a sword. On its hilts, a city was constructed. There were mountains on 2 sides while walls were arranged along the Sword River to protect the 2 other sides. The city was very intriguing and astonishing to Qin Mu. When Bamboo City reached it, a huge mountain stood up to reveal a path. A long bridge made of stone rose from the bottom of the river as well. And it was stone giants bending over to let Bamboo City step on their backs to cross Sword River. Too marvelous, the world of West Earth is truly a place full of wonderful imagination. Qin Mu couldn't resist exclaiming in admiration. His gaze was like limpid autumn waters as she smiled gently. If Cult Master Qin likes this place, you don't need to go back. You can always stay here, and he will accompany you on scenic tours to visit all the wonders of the world. Qin Mu was delighted. If there was a beauty like Sister E to accompany me, how joyful would that be? However, I've too many worldly affairs tying me down. After solving the matter with West Earth, I will have to lay my hands on high heavens to get rid of this future danger. On top of that, there are still a lot of stuff to be done in eternal peace. Why don't we do this? With excitement, he said, after playing in West Earth for some time, why don't you come with me to eternal peace and I'll show you around there, to see the extraordinary points of eternal peace. You might just fall in love with it. His expression showed interest, but she shook her head. I'm afraid it's not possible. He family still needs me. I can't abandon them. Bamboo City entered Sword River Valley and stopped. At that moment, the lights in all cities and towns of Sword River Valley shone brightly and looked very gorgeous. Even the mountains and the river were lit up. Let's go to the main palace hall. A huge stone floated up to his feet and picked the 3 of them to bring them to the main palace hall. The heads of my He family will soon come to visit, and I need to prepare. Not long after that, numerous higher-ups of He family came. There were both men and women among them, but the latter were in the majority as they came to pay their respects to He. She invited the numerous higher-ups of the influential families to take a seat while Qin Mu accompanied her. Everyone, this is Cult Master Qin of Heavenly Devil Cult, a sacred ground of Middle-earth's eternal peace empire. Everyone in the hall went into an uproar, and an old woman praised her in a trembling voice. Formation Master is truly extraordinary, to have taken down this devil cult master. Now we can ask True Heaven Palace for our reward. Ask for reward? He burst into laughter and shook her head. Palace Master Yu is merely a little slut that schemed and seized the throne, so is she even worthy of taking down Cult Master Qin? Pardon my honest words, If not for Bago supporting her, could she have ever gained the position of the palace master? Her womb failed to live up to expectations and could only give birth to a son. She can't even give birth to a daughter, so how good could she be? Everyone in the hall looked at each other in dismay. He glanced at Qin Mu, and he smiled. Holding Xiong Chia's hand, he said loudly, "Senior sisters of He family, this is the little princess of True Heaven Palace." He smiled and added, "The little princess of True Heaven Palace is right here, so Palace Master Xiong is not far away. If my He family can assist Palace Master Xiong in getting rid of the little slut of you family and helping her reclaim the position of the Palace Master, wouldn't that surpass the reward of turning Cult Master Qin in by 100 times? Everyone, you are the elders of the clan, what do you think?" Everyone in the hall became silent. The men of He family didn't dare to speak, but the women were very daring. One started to protest, "Formation Master, think thrice. You family is at its peak right now, so how can we He family be its opponent? What's more, Bago is supporting her." "Well said." He chuckled. "That's why we will be allying ourselves with Heavenly Devil Cult. With its assistance, why should we be scared of you family? If you think this is not enough, we'll ally ourselves with Mu and Luo families. I believe that they also have the sense of propriety, justice, integrity, and honor, and won't accept you family for long." Another middle-aged woman suddenly rose and said angrily, "Now that you family is in control of True Heaven Palace, how great is their power? Formation Master, even though you are the head of this household, I see that you have truly gone crazy. Formation Master, think thrice before acting." Another old woman stood up and propped herself on her cane. "Don't gamble the fate of our He family on the table." After her, another said righteously, "The 10,000 years of our He family's foundation can't be destroyed in an instant. If Formation Master insists on this, then hand over the position of the head of the household." "That's right, hand over the position of the head of the household." He looked around and said with a pleasant expression, "Which other elders have opinions? Feel free to speak, since this is an internal affair of our clan, and you are all my aunts, grannies, and great-grandmothers. I'm of a younger generation, so we should discuss this." A couple more elders stood up to criticize her then. He waited for a moment, to make sure that no one else would come out to object, then smiled. "Seems like everyone has forgotten how I became Formation Master, the head of this household." The faces of everyone who had stood up changed. Before they could rush out of the main hall, cages popped out from the ground of Bamboo City, capturing all who had spoken against He. The cages then sank back into the ground. He patted her hands and smiled. "After I get rid of you family, I'll let all of you out. Do the other elders have any opinions?" Everyone in the hall stood up and bowed while saying in unison, "We'll take Formation Master as our only guide." He looked at Qin Mu and smiled. "How are my methods, Cult Master Qin?" He smiled back at her. Sister is an unusual woman. His gaze wandered and there was a hint of bashfulness in her voice when she said softly, "Tonight, my window won't be closed. If you climb in, we can talk about formation skills the whole night and delve deeper." On that night, when it was silent, he heard knocking on the window and grew flustered. She hurriedly opened the window and saw Qin Mu behind it with a smile. "Sister I climbed here only after making sure that no one was around." His heart throbbed violently at the sight of her lover under the candlelight. Her heart became like a frisky monkey, and mind like a cantering horse. And then, both of them talked about formation skills the whole night. Before the sun was about to rise, Qin Mu secretly slipped out through the window, since he knew it was the rule of West Earth. Those who went for visiting marriage couldn't meet the woman's family. But Qin Mu didn't even manage to get downstairs before meeting a couple women who had woken up early. They immediately turned their heads away and acted as if they didn't see anything. Only after Qin Mu had walked a distance away, did they laugh softly. When the sun was high up in the sky, he was reluctant to part with Qin Mu and send him out of Sword River Valley. Just our He family alone is not enough to do anything against True Heaven Palace, so Cult Master should go and see Poison Master. I'll meet the other heads of influential families in West Earth to discuss this major event together. Qin Mu bade her farewell and left. He saw him off with some disappointment. A girl at her side laughed softly. Did sister do it with brother-in-law Qin? Quite a few people saw him climbing through the window, and some also saw him climbing downstairs in the morning. He was sleepy-eyed and her vigor seemed to be lacking. She said angrily, "Do what?" "We talked about formation skills the whole night." Other girls came up and chatted with smiles. "Talk about formation skills, is that your excuse? The night was long yesterday and you were naturally like a pair of mandarin ducks flying together." He ground her teeth so much they made a noise. The girls jumped in shock. "You really talked about formation skills the whole night with brother-in-law?" He looked at them helplessly. He was so excited, so what could I do? Force him? Does he family still want face? If I really used force, wouldn't we wreck the whole place with our fight and tear down this bamboo city? I could only talk the whole night with him about formation skills, but luckily his knowledge and experience were extremely extraordinary. We sank into exploring the formation skills to the point that I forgot to show affection and simply thought that the night was too short. Thinking about it now, I feel we could have done something first before exploring the path of formations and exchanged pointers. The girls looked at one another in dismay. A man and a woman spent the night in one room and they really talked about formation skills the whole night? Truly horrible, worse than a beast. Then why is sister allowing brother-in-law Qin to go look for Poison Master, that little hussy? One girl asked daringly. If Muing Xue isn't reserved like sister and snatches brother-in-law, what will you do? He sneered at her. Unless Lassie Mu uses force, everyone can forget about taking advantage of him. Ever since Lassie Mu lost to him, she couldn't forget about him and her amorous feelings kept undulating. She always fights with me, so if she found out that I lost, she would definitely make fun of me. So why don't I let her suffer a setback as well so it shuts her mouth? The girls greatly admired her words. Sister is wise. Qin Mu brought Xiong Chia to the Dragon Chilean's back, and they headed to Thunder Mountain City where Poison Master Muing Xue lived. Big brother, are we not going to True Heaven Palace? Xiong Chia asked curiously. I plan to go there, but so far there has been no news of Imperial Preceptor and your mother. I suspect. The corners of Qin Mu's eyes twitched and he sneered. Imperial Preceptor, that old schemer, hasn't shown his face from beginning to the end, and now I see what he wants to do. He is definitely waiting for me to create a huge ruckus and attract the attention and the main force of True Heaven Palace. Then he will achieve victory amid the disorder. That old schemer. I knew there was something wrong about him personally running over to my Heavenly Saint Academy to invite your mother to West Earth before asking me to join as well. He raised his head and examined the surroundings. There were a couple of white clouds following them in the sky, and he immediately said to the Dragon Chilean. Fatty Dragon, we are being watched again. The Dragon Chilean was frightened and immediately began to run faster. The speed of the white clouds also suddenly increased, but after a moment, the Dragon Chilean left them in the dust. Qin Mu noticed that not only were the white clouds chasing them, even the water of Sword River suddenly flowed in reverse. The waves moved like dragons, but they still couldn't catch up to them. Qin Mu looked with puzzlement at it. The divine arts practitioners were probably the strong practitioners of True Heaven Palace. Its tracking methods were indeed unmatched, and if they got seen, it would be hard for them to shake them off. Yet how did Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor, that old schemer, had known that he would attract a lot of attention after he entered West Earth? Even pulling out True Heaven Palace's forces? He was clearly very low-key and knew his place, so how did that schemer had known that he would become the biggest target of True Heaven Palace? Imperial Preceptor is an old fox. Qin Mu took a look at Xiong Chia and instantly knew who was the real target. According to his understanding gained in the past couple of days, West Earth placed great importance on the little princess, and True Heaven Palace needed to have one to sit firmly in its seat. Since Qin Mu was bringing along Xiong Chia, the little princess, with him, how could it not make him the biggest target? Xiong Xiu was nothing to worry about while Xiong Chia was the target of True Heaven Palace Master. In the past, the target Yu Buchuan had pursued wasn't Xiong Xiu, but Xiong Chia. Qin Mu still remembered why he had saved Xiong Xiu and her daughter. It was because when he saw Yu Buchuan bullying a 4-5-year-old girl like Xiong Chia, he really couldn't bear to watch it and risked his life to save them. But when he thought of it now, Yu Buchuan had wanted to kill Xiong Chia not without a reason. Why does True Heaven Palace place such importance on a little princess? He couldn't help feeling bewildered and squatted down. He grabbed Xiong Chia's shoulders and flipped her around a few times, but he didn't see anything special about her. This made him even more puzzled. Nai Kuei was True Heaven Palace Master, and the title's meaning was the mother of the princess, while the father was called Biego. These two names originated from the little princess, which showed how high True Heaven Palace valued the little princess. There had to be a reason for that. Xiong Chia looked at him with her big eyes blinking innocently. She didn't look like she had any special ability. Suddenly, Qin Mu focused on her little backpack and was stunned for a moment. Xiong Chia had always carried it with her, all the way from Heavenly Saint Academy to there. He had always thought that it held her clothes and didn't pay any attention to it. Now, he was curious about that small backpack. Chia, what do you have in that backpack of yours? Qin Mu asked. Xiong Chia took it down and opened it up, causing green light to shower Qin Mu's face. He sighed. As expected. Imperial Preceptor, that old schemer. The green dragon bead lay quietly in the girl's backpack. It was green like jade as well as sparkling and translucent. A dragon soul gently swam inside it. When Qin Mu grabbed the dragon bead, the dragon soul looked at him with disdain, but when he let Xiong Chia touch it, the green dragon soul looked at her with friendliness. It gently touched her hand from within the bead. The innocence of the child is the best material to cultivate 10,000 spirit nature technique. Qin Mu sighed ruefully. The reason why True Heaven Palace needed a little princess was mainly because of her innocence. Without any impure thoughts, she would be able to control a treasure like green dragon bead and unleash its power to the extreme. In True Heaven Palace, there were 3 more treasures which represented black tortoise, vermilion bird, and white tiger. The person who could unleash the power of all those treasures would only be the little princess of True Heaven Palace. The most powerful person in that sacred ground was never Nai Kuei or the other strong practitioners. It was the little princess which was without the strength to truss a chicken. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor and Xiong Shiyu had gone first to West Earth, but leaving Green Dragon Bead to Xiong Chia would have definitely not been Xiong Shiyu's idea, but that of Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor. Xiong Shiyu felt that Imperial Preceptor was unreliable, so she asked Qin Mu to bring Xiong Chia with him. Never would she have expected that she would fall for Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor's scheme and let Qin Mu and Xiong Chia become the targets of True Heaven Palace. Meanwhile, Imperial Preceptor and her could borrow the cover provided by them and execute their plans in secret. Imperial Preceptor needs a smack on the ass. He is a heavenly king of my heavenly saint cult, so how does he dare to scheme even against his own cult master? Qin Mu sighed and roused his spirit. At that moment, the dragon Qilin suddenly stopped and said, "Cult master, there's something." Qin Mu looked forward and saw mountains stretching into the distance. Black coffins hung off the cliffs. They nearly covered them whole, making the whole mountain body black. He quickly counted the coffins and realized that they numbered somewhere around 3,000 to 5,000. This is a corpse-raising ground. He opened Cinnabar Heaven's eyes to look and instantly saw sinister wind blowing in waves while dark clouds shrouded the mountains. The place was indeed suitable to raise corpses. According to the geographic map of West Earth, they were in Lower County, which was about 800 miles from Thunder Mountain City. Lower County was the territory of West Earth's Liu family. This corpse-raising ground is in the territory of Liu family? Does that mean they're its owners? Qin Mu suddenly remembered that corpses had no spirit nor soul, so wouldn't they be a good material for West Earth's divine arts practitioner to awaken spirit? The bodies of divine arts practitioners had been through the vicissitudes of life and far surpassed spirit weapons in power. On top of that, they had 4 limbs and may even be able to execute divine arts in battle, so they might be even more useful than spirit weapons. Rise and get rich. Suddenly, a shout could be heard, and Qin Mu looked toward the source of it. He saw a few men with embroidered headbands chanting phrases while executing divine arts of West Earth. A black coffin suddenly grew legs and pushed itself off the cliff as though it was flying, then landed with a thump. Creak. The coffin opened up and a woman hopped out. Her neck turned around stiffly, and she looked at Qin Mu. Are you perhaps Heavenly Devil Cult Master from Middle-earth? Qin Mu was astonished. He actually couldn't tell if the woman from the coffin was dead or alive. That's me. May I ask who you are? Liu Ruian of Liu family. The woman landed on the ground. I've heard that Cult Master has brought the little princess to West Earth. Where is she? Qin Mu raised Xiong Chia's hand and smiled. The little princess is right here. Liu Ruian looked at Xiong Chia, and the light in her eyes shone brightly. The smell of decay instantly torrent into the sky, and numerous black coffins grew legs to sprint down the cliffs. There were even coffins floating in the sky which creaked loudly as they opened up. Numerous corpses whose state of being Qin Mu couldn't determine sat up and rushed at Xiong Chia. Qin Mu stretched his hand and took out green dragon bead from the girl's small backpack and stuffed it into her hands while saying indifferently, Liu Ruian, your Liu family seems to have ill intentions, eh? When Liu Ruian saw the green dragon bead, she couldn't help covering her face and giving off a miserable shriek which was filled with terror. Don't be reckless. Xiong Chia hugged green dragon bead, since it was quite big. It was the size of an adult's fist. She was too young and it took her some effort to carry it. Qin Mu saw Liu Ruian's actions and instantly knew that his guess was right. The green dragon bead truly needed a pure and innocent little girl to unleash its full power. It was no wonder then that West Earth placed so much importance on the little princess. Liu Ruian covered her face with a sleeve so only one eye was showing. It was ghastly white and only had a black pupil the size of a soybean. It was truly strange. Cult Master, don't be mistaken. Behind Liu Ruian, explosions rang out without end as the corpses that were possibly dead or alive fell back into the coffins which closed automatically. Liu Ruian also jumped back into her coffin and lay down with a chuckle. We just wanted to see if the little princess was fine. Now that we see the little princess is safe, Ruian is at ease. Farewell. The coffins grew legs once again and were running up the cliffs. Master of the House Liu, please wait a minute, Qin Mu suddenly said. Liu Ruian, who had been about to close her coffin, stopped when she heard his words. She straightened her body and forced out a smile. Cult Master, give us a way out and don't be ruthless. Her voice was trembling, and it seemed like she was extremely terrified. Qin Mu was bewildered. Wasn't it just the green dragon bead? Xiong Chia was holding on to, but even though she could unleash its power, it should not be too terrifying. Did Liu Ruian and the rest really need to be that terrified? Master of the House Liu, you guys have come on the orders of True Heaven Palace. Qin Mu asked with a pleasant expression. Since it's on orders, there should be experts of True Heaven Palace in your clan, right? I would like to meet them, so could Master introduce them to me? Liu Ruian was slightly stunned. Qin Mu's face was warm like the spring wind when he smiled. Master of the House Liu might not know, but I've no ill intentions for West Earth. I'm just here to see the local situation and customs. The reason I brought the little princess is simply because she's a person of West Earth and is more familiar with the geography. Familiar with the geography of West Earth? Liu Ruian blinked at him. Xiong Chia was around 6 years old and had lived in True Heaven Palace ever since she was young. The only thing she might be familiar with would only be the geography of her home, so how could she have any memory of West Earth's geography? Letting Xiong Chia lead the way was no different from a blind man touching an elephant. This cult master Qin from Middle-earth sure has a way with lies. Liu Ruian's next words were chosen carefully. Cult Master Qin, a strong dragon cannot suppress a snake. Even though your background is enormous, my Liu family is not to be trifled with as well. Be careful of a life and death struggle. Qin Mu looked at her with astonishment. What is Master of the House Liu saying? I just want to see the senior sister of True Heaven Palace and resolve the misunderstanding between us. I have no ill intentions. If I really was thinking like that, I would have already asked the little princess to activate Green Dragon Bead, and do you think you guys would have been able to escape? Liu Ruian's face flickered between dark and clear. However, Qin Mu's patience was extremely good. He just stood there and waited for her reply. He didn't speak a word, and the corpses in the coffins also didn't dare to move. After a moment, Liu Ruian chuckled and said, "Since Cult Master Qin had said so, how can I go against it? Cult Master, please enter my coffin and let me bring you to Liu family to meet the senior sisters of True Heaven Palace. I wonder if Cult Master will have the courage." Qin Mu smiled at her. "What's the problem?" After saying so, he picked up Xiong Chia and jumped off the Dragon Chiline's back before coming next to Liu Ruian's coffin. When he looked inside, he couldn't help becoming stunned. The coffin didn't look big from the outside, but the internal space was astonishing. Its length and width were over 30 yards, and even the height was 15–18 yards. It was like a huge house. On top of that, there were also tables, chairs, and even a jade bed. It was split into a few rooms, and there were dining and living spaces. There was even a place for a servant to live, which made it no different from a small and delicate palace. Qin Mu clicked his tongue in wonder. When Liu Ruian had jumped out of the coffin, he had risen in shock. He thought that a zombie had jumped out, never having expected that it would actually be her living space. He looked at the other black coffins and wondered, could all of them be like that? All places where the disciples of Liu family live. These coffins that grew legs to walk by themselves seem to be as wonderful even if they are using different methods which lead to the same result as Sister Is moving city. Fatty Dragon, you can also come in. Qin Mu turned back to smile at him. The Dragon Chiline seemed slightly hesitant and shook his head. Cult Master, I'm a bit superstitious, so I won't go in. Qin Mu scolded him with a laugh, then brought Xiong Chia into the coffin, leaving the Dragon Chiline outside. Liu Ruian closed the coffin with a bang, and they immediately left with the coffin striding forward. Some of them even floated into the sky, escorting Liu Ruian's coffin across the mountains. The Dragon Chiline followed after them, and after crossing a few mountains, he saw a huge mausoleum among the mountains. Numerous black coffins of Liu family were floating around it like black boats in the sky. They formed a line to enter the huge mouth of the mausoleum. This video will end here.